G'day, welcome to Battlefield Accessories 28mm American Civil War gun limber tutorial. I've made these kits basically in response to having heaps of plastic gun barrels from Perry kits left over. Right, and so rather than chucking them away, I thought, well, I could make myself a little gun limber or gun carriage, right, and use all of those barrels that I've got. So the kit comes in 3 sections. Now what we've decided to do is market these as groups of 3, so you can see here is 1, 2, 3. There's only one of these on this kit, but there should be 3, so you have 3 of those, and then this sprue's got 3 as well, and you see one's already been removed. So what I'm going to do is quickly talk you through a couple of the tricks. It's pretty straightforward, but there's a few little tricks that'll make it a little bit easier to cut out. First one is on these parts here are the wheel rims, right? You'll see there's a little tag here which is just holding it in place, and my suggestion is what you do is you grab a sharp knife, of course working very carefully to remove that, just cut through that tag. If you don't cut, you can just grab it and peel it out, but if you do that, what you're likely to do is peel, like that. You can see there's grooves have been cut in the wheel rim. You'll end up with some of that falling out, and you'll need to stick it back in place. So it's much better to use a knife to get that out. And the same with these pieces here. So we're going to start with the wheels, right? And so here are 2 wheel rims I prepared earlier, and you'll see there's a clear upside and a downside on those. The other is these upsides face out. Right? It doesn't actually matter, other than you'll pick that detail up when you paint them, and you'll want that where people looking at models can see it. Right, and they're going to trim out the 2 wheel hubs. Now the wheel hubs have a very thin line of card around the outside. I think it's about 0.3 of a mil. That's actually not essential. So if your kit has some of these that are basically burnt out on its way through, that doesn't matter. Basically the idea of that is you're getting more surface area to actually adhere to the rims. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some glue. I'm going to hold this in my finger, and I'm just going to run it. Try to do that so you can see it. Run it through the glue, so I end up with glue on the outside. Then take this, grab my rim, and just slide it down inside. Okay, so what you'll be left with is something that looks a little bit like that. So it should be flat on the back, right? So I'm always going to leave mine flat down. Now, something plastic is a good idea. Don't do it on the table, because again, using wood glue here, it will actually stick to wood. Getting a fraction more glue, and you come along. I'll try and do this on its side. So what I'm doing is I'm just running the edge of that, trying to pick some glue up on the outside of that rim. Again, doesn't matter if you've got too much, because it's going to disappear. I'm going to grab it, push it down. So I've got my 2 wheels. Then I'm going to leave them aside to dry for a bit. I'm going to come along with my frame. Now, these frames here are connected here and here, right, and then in the middle of that bit there. Right, so what I'm going to do is just going to basically work it out. And then the same there. Now, again, it doesn't hurt to put a knife through there. I've already done this on this one, so it's why it's coming out so easily. A little bit of a knife through there doesn't hurt. Now, with this piece here, these 2 connectors are on that flat face. I'm going to need that, so it's quite probable by the time you get this kit, these connectors will be back further where it doesn't matter so much. But I'm just going to run a knife over them just to flatten them off. Of course, cutting away from myself. Okay, so the design is that this little peg here goes into that little hole. There are 2 engraved lines on the front of this, and they're designed to face towards the front. So again, I'm going to just get a little bit of glue on the peg, and then with those cut lines facing towards the front, basically slide it in. Right, I can wipe that glue off the top. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that down to dry. It should be nice and square. Okay, so next piece. These 2 pieces here, right, this star and this, however, the bit for the handles at the end of the trace, those bits we're going to go onto the actual body of the carriage. So I'm just going to trim them out, and again, this little tags, I'm just going to cut through those with a knife so the thing comes out nice and easily. Again, when you can see this up close, where those tags are is very, very obvious. Okay, so I'm going to put those two little pieces aside for the moment. Then with these pieces here, the idea is that that little groove, right, slots over the side there. So it's basically going to sit in like this. Okay. Now, my suggestion for doing this is basically get glue on both of these, can't get off these pieces. Put the thing flat down and then just drop them in on top and squeeze to make sure that they're straight. And I'll show you a few tricks of that in a second. So just going to wipe a little bit of glue onto that. Then come along and slide them down. So what I've done is I've got this resting firm on the ground, and I'm just going to push these top bits down, and then I'm just going to grab them, make sure they're standing nice and straight. Now if you happen to have some of your gun barrels handy, this is where it's a nice trick to come along and grab your thing, place your gun barrel, make sure you got it up the right way, and place it in there like that, and it's perfect. One of the traps for young players with these is if you don't get them exactly straight, they can bend out a little bit at the top, right? And so it doesn't hurt just to bend them in a fraction. But again, check that your gun's going to fit in there, and that's going to fit very nicely. Okay, so then going to take this piece here. A bit more glue. Okay. So this piece here, it's got an up and a down, doesn't really have a front or back. Tiny bit of glue on the back of it. Right, and it sits at the back end just down in there. So some tweezers are handy here, just because the pieces that you're working with are quite small, just in terms of picking them up and putting them in the glue. So it's going to sit something like that. Now on your completed one, which I'll show you in a moment, you're just going to paint that all sort of a silver or metal color, so that'll all be lost. And then this last little bit here, which is for the elevating screw, I'm just going to place it towards the back of that section there. Now you can place that after you've put your barrel in if you wanted to. I'm just putting it in now because it's nice and I've got lots of clearance on it. I can get it in easily. Right, so there you have. You'll see I've got a little bit of a drop off at the front and a bit of drop off at the back there too. Okay, final bit on the wheels. I've got these two hub covers. Now the idea is these is to give a little bit of an illusion of depth to the model. Make sure you cut that through properly. Okay, and this I found tweezers really useful. Now, so I've got my wheels there. You see the square in the middle, which is going to connect to the hub. What I'm going to take is the circle, get a bit of glue on it, and then place it directly over that hole. I use my tweezers just to move around a little bit and push it down. Oops. Okay, and then the final bit is take my limber, dump both ends in the glue, something like that. And then take wheel number one and carefully push it in. Don't push it too hard because you'll push the other end off. Now, the only trick with this is to watch out. At some point in time, you'll see that's where my join was on my wheel. So what I tend to suggest is you try and get that facing down rather than facing up. Then I'm just going to gently squeeze both of those on, then place it down and make sure that the whole thing is square, because if your wheels are skewed, it's going to look a bit crazy. Then for mine, what I would do, and I'll just get you one to show you, these are a prototype version, but they're similar enough. I spray painted mine. I stuck it to its base, spray painted the whole thing black, and then gave it a liberal coat with the green that I'm using for my guns. Right, and you see that's quite good. Then I came along, touched up all the metalwork with the silver, then glued the barrel in place. So there's a rifle, there's a howitzer. Okay, so just place them in, and that way the painting was very, very straightforward. Okay, but if you're impatient, you want to see what it looks like, you can come along, dip a bit of glue on either side of your gun barrel, drop it in, and there you go. Now, if you want to go super over the top with this, and I've got to find you one so you can see it, you could, if you wanted to, place a small piece of wire right in the height adjustment screw that your barrel sits on. So it's a bit difficult to see there, but basically under the end of the barrel there's a little metal bit of steel wire that I've put in there. Again, that's up to you. There's no wire included in the kit, but there is a hole in the base of the screw mechanism, so you could put that in if you wanted to. For me, I'm using the North Star pikes for flags, and of course they're always a little bit long, so you get some left over. So the little bits I've trimmed off the end, I'm then putting in as height adjusting screws. Again, that's one of those things you can do if you want. So there you have Battlefield Accessories 28mm American Civil War gun carriage.